about it. If you were asking somebody, hey, do you know how to generate a podcast? Do you know how to live stream to YouTube through Zoom? Do you know how to do remote support through Zoom? You know how to do polling? You'd say no. Okay, so we have that part. So welcome, everyone. I appreciate your attendance and joining me this afternoon. What I want to cover today are a couple of topics. One is we have an exam on Monday on the 17th in the School of Business in SBT 204. And Daniel, my senior lead, will put an announcement, right, to announce again, to remind you on that. Again, you need to bring your laptop. You need to have download the latest version of Respondents because you know that we're used to being prepared for backup and recovery. We cannot fully count on all those computers working, so we have a backup on that. We have posted the study guide for you, and I'll review the study guide and I'll open it up for questions for what you want me to emphasize today in the review. And then in the second part of today, I want to emphasize your projects. I've looked at all of your projects, and many of you need to work on it more intensely in order for it to be what I consider a project that you can be proud of and take with you as services. So in that frame, let me just open it up and ask you, and you can unmic yourself, is what do you want me to emphasize on the review? You know that it's going to be the same format. There's going to be two parts to the exam. You can do either part first and second. On the open-ended, you have to be, I was a little bit, for the first time, since it was the first time, I was a little bit lenient. You need to define the terms. You need to give examples of the terms. You have to show. You don't need to make up stories. You know how you're going to all make up stories and fill the space, but you need to be succinct and show that you understand the concept. What is the problem? What are the solution, and how these topic areas will be helping us be closer to our customers, increase our revenues, decrease our costs, be more efficient, helping the planet, helping our human beings. So any question that you have for me before I start about the exam? Cam, do you have or that just came up, your hand? Cameron, you don't have it, it just...
Yeah, no question. Sorry about that.
You're just waving to me, that's fine.
Yeah, I
So
was just doing that.
you're
Hey,
just being
Professor,
friendly. Yes.
is it 60 questions multiple choice?
Yes, it'll be the same part, multiple choice, true, false. Same type of format as it was before. I think there were 60 questions last time. What else? And I think everybody had enough time. You agree with me? I don't think time was the problem. It's whether you know what to answer. You know, you could sit there 5 hours. If you have been, as I said before, if you're requiring more time based on documentation, sit to the very, when you come in on the very right-hand side, so that you'll get extra time. But even those people are needing extra time, most of them didn't need it. Anything else? Okay. Marco, anything that you want me to cover on the review, or do you just want me to cover, or do you
I was
think
thinking it would be helpful if you could focus on the multiple choice because I feel like the open-ended is a little bit more straightforward since we have
okay, great. Okay, yeah, you know what the question is, right? On the open-ended, you know what the question is, unless you're not sure, I'll be happy to do that. Anything else besides Marco's input? So Devin, Do you have a question or no? That you want me to emphasize?
I don't have a question, no.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's get into it. The more time we have, okay? The better it is. Okay, so I am seeing that we are performing here. I'll go to my content and I see on what's due, as always, that I see November 17th, PPT documents, the exam review guide that I have, and an exam 2 review guide. It's in PTT. You know, Daniel, I don't think we need to show exam 1 guide, do we?
We don't. You're not on the right mode.
What? Oh, I'm on. Is it off? Okay.
There we
Right. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. What's so great is we all help each other, right? So let's see what we got here. All right. So in this case, everybody knows this: closed book, closed note, AI, pictured ID, your laptop. And these are the articles that I think are important. Basically, Marco, when you were asking to go into more of these, I think about managing data, knowing what are the characteristics, what's difficult about it, right? One of the difficulties, we have proliferation of data, right? And what else is there about data that seems to be an issue? Is what? The data is not up to date. Sometimes they're calling rotting of data. Let me just do this, possibly. Let's do this. File. Let's even see here if I can open. Let's do this. This is, I will. We had gone over it before. Let me see here. Under data, right, that we had discussed it before about data. So the difficulties of managing data is that we need to have the right data. It needs to be timely, the data. And the idea here, you can think about it. You can even, Marco, a good thing is going through the slides, going and matching the slides. And within this, Marco, you see here, what I would do also is you could look through the text that's below. Also, what I would do, Marco, is that you can go back to the quizzes. Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 quizzes, Daniel, they can still click on their grades and see it. Is that a true statement?
Yes, they can.
Yeah, so I would do that one. There are even from the notebook you can ask them those questions. But basically, those ideas of security, the quality, and the integrity. So if you can go through, what I would do is I go through that chapter, and basically you can think about it is looking at the slides, looking at the quizzes that you've had before. And also you can even put that chapter with the PowerPoints and ask Notebook LM for flashcards and give you multiple choice questions. Marco, those are kind of ways in which I would do it. But I think in this case, what is important, and I think many people were asking me before, let me just show you which, what I think is that this was the difficulties of managing it, coming from multiple resources, data governance. The idea of data governance is what? What does that mean? I need to have a group of people in my organization be responsible for the data, Marco. That's key here. What the university collects on you and puts into their database, there has to be a group of people that own that data. Just like, Marco, in a way, Isa and Daniel are basically the owners of the assignment data in my class. I'm the head owner of it, right, for governance, right? But they're responsible, right? If they put in a wrong grade for you, right, that's going to affect, right? If they forget and they, instead of putting 10, they put 100, that's going to be an effect. So there's always going to be, and guess what, Marco? That same idea of data governance, what's going to be a key profession, I guarantee you, is AI governance. What the heck are in all those LLMs? What's in those agents? What data are they collecting? What are they basing it on? Right? So the same idea of governance is basically somebody going to be able to approach it for the entire organization. Who's in charge? What garbage in, garbage out. Also, it can be security threat. It also can be open leaks. So that whole idea, and that's the same idea that we talk about a database approach and the hierarchy, that when I talk about this is what people got confused last time, Marco. I'm just using you as an example since you were asking about it. People were saying, oh, we get the same question over and over again. When it said database management system minimizes these three main problems. Because what are they comparing it to? A regular file system means that data in the university could be of your demographic data, could be spread across the whole university, and housing, in the School of Business, in the Department of Finance, in the Finance Department, in the registrar's way, in the health center, in the library, in parking. You can think about your data, that same data in a file system it's like a silo that and think about it, I as a professor keep my data, but what? I don't have other data about you, right? So if somebody comes and says, I'm looking for a finance person, a freshman or a sophomore that's interested in AI and is interested in finance, I don't have that information. Maybe I know it just by chance, right? Marco, you came to me or you were interested, but I don't have that data. And they say they want to give a scholarship or they want to give an internship. So the idea of a database management system for an organization is say, let's collect the data in more of a centralized fashion, and then we could query the data to get better results. So what is it that it minimizes? What problem? It minimizes data redundancy. What does data redundancy means? That I have your address 50 times around the university. You move, Marco. Is it going to be updated 50 times? And if it even were, isn't that a pain to go update it? Just have it in one place. When we know that you've changed your address, we can do it. So it reduces data redundancy. Data isolation is, it may be just in one place that we know that you're on the sports team, but I don't know, it's not connected that you're also a finance major, and it's not also connected that you have an interest in AI, and it's not also connected that you're in this type of organization. So that data isolation is a problem. And data inconsistency, one time it says that you live in New York, one time it says that you live in New Jersey, one time it says you live in Fort Lauderdale. because you switched all the time. Is that going to be that data inconsistent? This is another one. Because of data management system, we're putting everything together in one, we're going to be more susceptible, right? So what's going to be the idea here? Because it's in one place, we know security. Is it more vulnerable? Of course it is. So data security, we want to maximize more data security because we're more vulnerable. Data integrity. If I have your address in one place, guess what? It may be not right. If I have your GPA in one place, what's the problem? If it were a discrepancy, right, I could say, hey, here it says 4.0, here it says 3.0. And then I say, hey, something's wrong here. Here, I don't know. It says you have a data integrity says you have a GPA of 2.0. Later on, only after you're ready to go on to the next place, you say, hey, there's something wrong here. You have to report it. And sometimes it's not be reported. Data independence here is the data we want to be dependent that if, let's say they close one department in the university, remember they had diversity and what did they call it? Diversity, that all of a sudden it's not, we can't at the university have a diversity department and we had specialized data there. When we close that department, we would still want the data to still be available. Just because we close one department, we're not going to have it. So you see that these were things that everybody was telling me when they were taking the test. They said, oh, it's asking the same question. Maybe it asks maximizing 3 things, but there's 3 possibilities. So those were the question. So that's how I would study. The same thing with bits, bytes, fields, data file, table. That's the hierarchy. Basically, what it is all the computing are zeros and ones. And what do we have? That it's either off or on, a 0 or 1, and then it's built on characters. And really, those characters are also basically numbers, but it's just converted that we don't know. But we created who cares about this? It creates it. If I don't store my data correctly, I have a hard time retrieving it. Structured data in a regular term works out well. It turns out, Marco, that generative AI and other types of AI, turns out they do better in unstructured data than regular ones. They can tell stories, right? If you do a prompt, it can tell, because it's creating so much data, it can start predicting what's the next one there. So those are the areas, and the definition, big data, we talked about it, right? I don't know how much you want to, but those are the idea of what makes up big data. And you can think about big data. One of the best ideas of how AI does well is in any type of pattern recognition. It does really well in big data. And humans have a hard time in finding patterns. So that volume, velocity, and variety. And if you think about finance, what's the biggest big data is basically all my equities, right? If I think about high frequency trading, if I think about what happens in 5 minutes on the stock market, right, is what? Volume, velocity, and variety. And what do we want to do is try and we need to have different hardware. We need to have different types of statistical software to be able to do it and trust it and manage my data and that environment. And so those are areas to do. And then when I have that big data, it could be historical or not, but many times what I want to do is I have all the data, and now what do I want to do? I want to store that data, and I want to make some kind of predictions. I have some kind of hypothesis, because what do I want to do? I'm just not dealing with data per se and just reacting. I need to look at the whole picture. As a business, what do I need to do? I need to be able to say, what am I going to not only do tomorrow, but what am I going to do next year? And what am I going to do in a couple of years? What project should I go to? Everybody's crazy. They're all jumping in the wagon of AI, but where do I start? I know I have to do it, but where am I going to start? And where am I going to do it? So how do they store it in these data warehouses? It's historical. And sometimes the data marts are what? They're a subset. So if we were in marketing, we have a campaign, we'll have a data mart. So for the university, it could be a data mart. I want to think about recruiting. I want to recruit the best and the brightest. I have to figure out what are the characteristics, not only of recruiting the best and the brightest, because every university, who's going to say, I want to have the dumbest and the most uneducated and the least wants to succeed? No, everybody wants to have the best and the brightest. But the idea is I want to have the best and the brightest that will really succeed in this environment. We have a special environment. Let's say I'm the president of this university. There's something that those students that really thrive and really are successful, maybe what I want to do is I want to look at my graduates and see who were the successful ones and who were the non-successful ones, or who were most satisfied plus being successful, and see what are the characteristics of that. And it may be also where they were, but it may be other things that I didn't even know about before. Right? It may have been not only who was really succeeding really well, but maybe certain courses they took. It may not even be their grade. GPA may not even matter. We think GPA matters, but it may not. I have a hypothesis that what it is, and the people that have been most successful, maybe they have another characteristic. So those are the ideas in which you want to look at. Make sense? So I do that for each of the chapters, right? You know, the four, the same things. The same things in the four would be that idea of security. I need to know the difference between exposure, threat, and vulnerabilities. I go back and the same things. We've done this before, right? Everybody has a user role in information systems. I know least privilege, Jorge. You have least privilege, Jorge, in this class. Do I have least privilege? Jorge. Stephen, do I have least privilege? You see here the word least privilege?
Yeah, you do, but it's like in perspective.
Right, that's all. Everybody. If I am in charge, does the president of the university have least privilege? Stephen.
Like, yeah, they'd have the least privilege
Based on their role, right?
Yeah.
The president doesn't have authority, right? We don't want to give him authority to change his salary. And we don't want to give him authority just on his own pretense, go into the database and change, his girlfriend's salary. Or his, let's say his son goes here. I'm just making up stories. You know what I mean? Let's say his grandson went here. You don't want him to go in and being able to store it or to remove or to change. He doesn't like somebody, right? You don't want him to be able to change. Every role in information technology, the key is give everybody enough access to do what? Stephen, their job. My job for the university in the teaching aspect, I have another job to do research. I have another job to do service. But my job as a tenured professor is to teach this class. So I should be able to have access to what I need to do to teach this class. And that means what, Stephen? If we're thinking about it, I need to have access to all the grades, everything that I need to upload, everything that I need to download based on this course. And when I wanted to create the audit area, Stephen, you remember the audit area that we're using? I didn't have permission to create another course. I had to ask for permission from the Blackboard team to say, go ahead and create another instance. Don't put in any type of information in it, and upgrade all my students to the role of teaching assistant. I had to have special permission because I could decide I'm not the owner of this university. I can't just decide, listen, I want to create 3 more courses that I think are important. I have to go through a set of procedures. If I can maybe volunteer and say, hey, I think we should have a second version of this course that we can just focus in and more going into, let's say, more agents or something like that. We call it AI agents. Okay, so the same idea here, that when I'm doing this, least traffic, it's the same idea of risk, right? I know there's always risk. I have no problem to figure out that there's always going to be risk in anything I do in life. I wake up in the morning and there's a risk. I go to sleep, there's a risk I won't wake up, right? There may be an earthquake or something. We need to do it. But I, as management, I, as in information, have to tell them, what do we want to do? We want to mitigate. We want to reduce the risk. It doesn't say to zero. There's no zero in life. You know what I mean? Maybe at the end of life that everybody's going to die. But before that, we want to mitigate it. And how can I mitigate it? I can put in what? Some kind of controls. I can put in physical controls, right? I can lock when you get into the lab, you have to use your card key to get in. So everybody can't just go in and out. There's going to be cameras, right? That everybody just can't go and take home a computer. Right? There has to be communication controls, access controls, administrative controls, right? In terms of all of these. We've gone through these, but these are ways, and the same thing with cloud computing. You got to know what, and Marco, one of the things is once you answer, like there's a question, right? Open-ended question about cloud computing, right? There's a couple of them, right, Marco? So based on those questions, there'll be multiple choice questions on those, you know, of the difference between information, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, what they do, the vendors, Amazon, Azure, you know, Microsoft, Google, now Oracle's in play. Everybody wants to get in those popular cloud vendors. What are they going to be? AI vendors, right? And what is it always? Is basically where they're going to store it, basically. And you store it in the way that they have all these centers now for AI that they're getting bigger and bigger. The amount of billions that they're playing on that is because it requires so much computing power. But it's the same, those same actors, right, Marco, for those AI farms are the same ones that are doing those cloud vendors, right? They're all jumping on it, but then all of a sudden they want to do it. And the difference is, we talked about it, difference between public, private, and hybrid clouds, basically. Google Drive or Gmail, that's all cloud. And what is it? It's all public, but it doesn't mean that everybody can see whatever I do. I still have a password, right? Marco, you still have a password on your YouTube account. You still have a password on your Gmail account, on your Outlook, but you're sharing that data in where? It's not in the cloud. It's in really a physical computer. Do you know where it is? No. Do I know where mine is stored? No. Do I care? Most of the time I don't. But if I were the government and I was the CIA, or I was the Department of War, Department of Defense, it would matter to me because it's more vulnerable. So then they say, you know what? What's a private cloud? Is put my data in a separate computer and do more constraints with it, that it's just not easier to hack. Is a private cloud able to be hacked? Of course it is, but it's harder. So what do I need to leave my door open? Put the keys in the car? So it's the same thing, and the same thing on these types. You have a lot of open-ended questions on these, and you have multiple choice on this, where you have samples that you've done. This is on your ERP, the enterprise resource planning, right? That you have the business analytics. What, Carissa, is going to be important in business analytics? In business analytics, I can have something descriptive, meaning in the past, let's take our grades, right? I have your test scores, right, Carissa? I can tell what is the, what do you want to know? You want to know what is your test score, but many times not even just the test score. It could be 30 is your test score, but if I told you you were the highest one in the class and we curve, that's going to be different, right, Carissa? So in the descriptive statistic, it's about the past, and it can tell me, describing the data I have. So it tells me in that case of what is the average, right, of it? How does the data, are all my data together in terms of, did everybody just get 80s and 90s, or was it past that some people got 15, a lot of people got hundreds, some people got 50s? That's going to be basically my distribution. That's going to be important in my past. Then, of course, after my past, what do I want for business? Of course, is I want to not, right, looking at the back at the rear view mirror, but in business, I need to know where I've been. But what's going to be more important, right, Carissa, is where we're going. What are you going to be doing for the next one? Can I predict your score? Can I predict the next, how the stock is moving? I know that it really did well. Anything based on AI did well. But now has it been kind of, the honeymoon is over for a while? So I want to predict how well it's going to be doing tomorrow, how well it's going to be doing next month, anything in business. I want to do predictive, and predictive is what? The future. And then I want to say, even if it goes up, or I think it's going to go up, am I 100% sure? Of course not. But what do I want to do? I want to mitigate the risk, and I want to be more accurate. I want to be more accurate than my competitor. Because if I can predict better, I'll do better. Right? And then prescriptive could be, okay, now that we know it, what can we do? So now that we know that, should I buy the stock? Should I hold the stock? Should I sell the stock? I know then how you did in forecasting. What's the prescription? Maybe I should spend more time doing the notebook LM. Maybe I should spend more time on the open-ended questions. Where did I do poorly on that? Where did I do less well than on the other? On the open-ended, I did great, but Marco can say, I missed some of those. So maybe how can I do it? Maybe I can do some other types. That's prescriptive. Did that help, Marco?
Yes, that helped a lot.
But you have all those, but think about it, those kind of things. I'd even start maybe going through the open-ended ones, and some of those open-ended ones, especially on the cloud, especially on some of those other ones, that it can then bring you on a database and files, and then it can go back to those quizzes and think, what kind of questions could it be? It'll be a variation of those, right? That's how I think that you can do it. The best way that I think that it can be done. Okay, so I'd like Lily. Some of the people had problems with VAPI, and also I'd like you to show your project. This was from last semester, and you added, and that's one of the things, those of you who are interested in being with me in the future, is that we always add on. So we didn't have VAPI putting in a widget last time. So can you be so kind, Lily? I was so impressed with your work. If you can show students, one is what the output is, but also if you could show how you did the input, because when I was querying some of the the VAPI, I wasn't getting the correct solution here. So if you can show
Sure.
them, I wanna.
I think this time, like when I present it though, could we do it backwards where I show like how how I like structured it?
Yes,
and then put it in?
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Okay.
A lot of times when I come up with ideas, one of the things that I want is people to give me
Yes.
some perspective. So for sure.
Yeah, let me put it on. Oh my gosh, my thing is just in the way. I need to
Okay.
move this.
We see a nice background though. Puts us
You
in a
can thank
nice.
Microsoft for that one.
Oh, really? It's pretty. They do have nice. Okay.
Let me make sure I'm actually sharing my
I see that. I see VAPI.
Yeah, but I'm making sure my
Okay.
sound is showing.
While you're showing it, let me just I looked at a number of them. One thing every group needs to do. You hear this? I'm going to tell each student. And I call on a student just to make a point. But do you hear this, Devin? Everybody has to call your number in your group, everybody has to click on all of your widgets there to make sure it works. And one of the things that I saw people doing is they said they took their one was, I think it was called Growth Partners or something. I forgot which group it was. And they said, hi, we're growth partners. You're not growth partners. So you need to go in and change it. So which one do you want to show them?
Like, I'm just gonna show them the model I'll add into my website.
Okay, great, perfect. Everybody's
So,
right.
this is Alex. I first I like prompted what like the first message like says when you open up the widget, and then I had ChatGPT help me come up with a system prompt. So I copy and pasted the like system prompt that they give you if you put in customer service, like whichever prompt that one is.
Whatever,
so-
whatever template that was.
Yeah, that template.
Mhm.
And then I gave ChatGPT like information on my website and like what kind of services we provide. And then ChatGPT made this whole
Beautiful.
kind of like thing for me.
That's a nice. You can do it. You can do it in ChatGPT. You can decide. You can do it in Gemini. You can do it in the note in the beginning of that notebook LM in the beginning of the chat. Whatever you're comfortable with, you should do it. But make sure the first thing is that first message should say your company name. And
Right. And then I went to widget, and instead of just copy and pasting this code, I went into customize, and then I made it voice.
And that, can I interrupt you 1 second? And
Yeah,
we're gonna do
sure.
it as a team. I would like, even though the instructions said chat, we Daniel was having some issues with his computer, but I would like everyone to choose voice, and I'll tell you why. Because it's unique. Chatbots you can get in Big Daddy, chatbots it comes in Wix, but very few people can produce those voice agents, and you can put that as even a service in which you provide other companies with. So I would like each of your groups to go back, and when you go back to it, instead of chat, click on voice, and then what?
I went to text and labels, and
Okay,
what
good. And then
did
text
we
and
name it last time, Professor? What
talk
kind of
with
like
talk with our talk,
We named it Talk with Agent.
yeah, talk with agent, or you can say that talk with our agent, you know what I mean? But make sure it says talk.
okay.
Conversation is like the next level. Everybody knows on the text messaging, and I know a lot of times you'd like to do text messaging. This is kind of like unique that this is coming. All right.
And then you can like decide where on the page you want it. So bottom left. I like it on the right. And then I
Okay.
just like it large. And then for the background color, you can choose like a theme. Like I like the light colored theme just because I just found like it matched with my website better.
Mhm.
And then you can also change like the accent color of the circle, but I think that matches my website. And
Yeah.
so like there's no like when I was first doing it, I was like, why is there no area to like save my work? Oh, also turn this off. It's full legal consent.
Oh, turn off that. There were some groups that had that on. Turn off the legal and consent. That's a good idea. So when people see that in the very beginning, what the problem is that they freak out and they say, "Oh, who are they? What are they going to do to me?" You know. So for this case, I think it's a friendlier point. If you're in a certain, bank or something, sometimes they require that by regulations. For us, for our demo, it's good enough.
So yeah, I got like confused on why like there was no
Okay, so how do
area
you
to-
make sure that that takes?
I just copied this code
Okay,
from what I already created. And then
okay,
I go onto my website.
perfect.
Not this part of my website, it's the Wix.
Okay, great idea that you show them that way.
And then I go to oh geez, no, not analytics settings. scroll all the way down to custom code. Then I'll just delete this old code that I had. I'll add a code down here. Paste and hit apply. And then just like refresh on my page a couple of times. But now, yeah, now it says talk with agent.
And make sure that it appears. Some of you, when you tried it out, I love the talk with agent, you see, and then you really can, and this is nice to record it. When you're going to be doing your recording, it's really nice to show it. I think it really adds a level, right?
And then it'll ask you like to allow your microphone.
Right.
And just start the conversation.
Hello, this is Alex from Elevate U. We help students navigate Wall Street through technical prep guides, finance info sessions, and individual interview prep sessions. Would you like to hear more about how AI can help you become technically sound for your next finance role?
Yes, please tell me a bit more.
Great to hear you're interested in leveling up your technical skills. To make sure I give you the most relevant info, could you tell me a bit about where you are in your finance career journey? For example, what year are you in school, and what got you interested in finance? Are you already preparing for interviews or just starting to explore your options? What kind of roles are you targeting, e.g. investment banking, consulting, etc.?
Okay, you get the point.
Yeah. But I'd even like you didn't do it, but I'd even like you to put in that background of those prompts is put in who's on the team.
Yeah.
As well, and that's really nice. So you can even and ask it, who's on your team, and then it would list then who's on your team. How great is that? Did you really
like you mean in the initial prompt, like when he's like introducing himself?
No, in your that if an end user wants to know who's on our team,
Oh, okay.
that'll be available. I think that's better than our team consists of. Sometimes if they don't ask, sometimes people don't want, I don't want to advertise, so much because I may want to sell the whole company, later on. And then of course you have your team that, some of you have done. But perfect.
Right.
But everybody see why I want you to change it, even though the instructions said chat, I would like it to be done for voice, because I think, hey, you can show a service. And those of you that are basically giving AI, I'd like that even to be a service. Right? You can even give that as a service. We can create that for you as well. And give them the ideas of what is the advantage to that. There's disadvantages, of course, but there could be advantages that, for spamming, for basically, and this type of thing is basically when people are clicking on it, but you could have it as the way in which you can call the number, which is nice too. If I'm not on a computer, if I'm not there, I can just dial the number where you can emphasize. So some of you have the phone number of your VAPI number, but it's not clear that it's a virtual agent. Call our virtual agent. You may even put something there. We can create this for you too, or something like that, giving them the idea of there's so many things that you now can create. You remember how I said I wanted to make it real for you? That these are things, Carissa, these are things that you could actually get company. You think anybody knows how to do this? Of course, very few. You could make it even a real business saying, hey, we'll make that. And then it may be later on something like VAPI or others, you can do outbound calls. You can say, hey, all those leads for the university that they were interested in us, but maybe we rejected them or something. You could even give calls out to them and say, listen, you didn't make it now, but try to apply in the second year. Do you guys know that if you didn't get into a university, if you apply in the second year, you have a higher chance to get into a university that didn't accept you the first year? Did you know that, Carissa? Because they don't have, it's basically based on ratings and numbers, that they don't have to report that in the beginning because they want to say that they're competitive. So a lot of times they'll even say, "I'll go to another college that first freshman if you don't get in, and apply the second." So you could even say those students they don't know what to do. You could send out messages there, or those people that you didn't hire, you could send them out, and then you could even later on create it. That's part of what you need to know also when you think about it, Marco, that you're asking about the question, is that VAPI is basically an AI agent. The whole idea, it's voice AI agent. And you have one that we're doing right now that is creating an assistant. But there's another part, you know how the assistant, what was called squad, and you could have then multiple agents, one agent calling another agent. So you could have one for customer support, and then after that, you could have another agent doing appointments. And then you could have it, so it could be, if you thought about it, Stephen, you could have a complicated, rather than having one complicated one, you could set them up as modules, one calling the other. And that's what they call agentic AI, right? That where in generative AI that we all know with ChatGPT, what are you doing? You have a prompt and you're getting a response. Here, you're telling an agent, do something. You gave it the prompt, but you're telling it to do, answer the phone, respond. And then what would be interesting is you could even say, hey, when they want to make an appointment and they want to meet my salesperson, you could then transfer it. I want to talk to a salesperson. You could transfer it and give it a number and transfer it to you, Stephen, or to you. You give 3 numbers. Whoever picks up, it'll answer a human being. Have you ever been on that? I want to talk to a human being now. I'm always in that session, because that agent can't help me completely. You can do that with, guess what? With no coding. So you remember how they call it vibe coding? It's doing the coding, but it's doing it behind. But what you need to do is find out what the reasoning is. So if I look, anything else, Lily? First of all, thank you so much. Nice job, right? Everybody agree? I'm blessed to have so many great students helping me. So if I looked at any of these, what is this one? Any of these groups, this is another thing. Do this right now. If you have your exact URL, put your upgraded URL here, not your Wix site. You can keep your Wix site if you want, but you want to put your URL. So when I looked at this, I felt, Madden, when I looked at this, I think your group, if I look at it open in a new tab, right, you do have, this needs to be upgraded. You need to upgrade to your own domain name. Also, with this group, Madden, let me just show you this. It's Gemini. No, that's not what I want. But when I looked at it, Madden, if you look into Google, Google has something now, and go ahead and look at it. Google now has something for fashion, helping you try on things. So you should look at some of those softwares that actually help you, do fashion and trying it on. So if you look at any of these, right, if you have your URL, put in your official URL. And if I look in open tab here, what I have here is I have some of you, I have here, listen to our Notebook LM podcast here. That's good here. But if I look here, what is this number for Serenity Mind? I guess this is your what? your what? Your VAPI. So this should be saying here, talk to our agent. You know, and I would put that much larger. Everybody see that? I would put it not so much here because they wouldn't be able, don't hide it. I would put it somewhere that you could see it, and then talk with our AI.
Hello, welcome to Serenity Mind AI. You're calling us on a recorded line. How can I help?
Great. Can you tell me who's on your team?
Hi, I'm Shelby with Serenity Mind AI. I'm here to listen and help you find tools or exercises for your mental wellness.
Okay.
I'm an AI assistant designed to support you with kindness and care.
Yeah, nice. So I ready here. What I would do for here is definitely everybody highlight that this is an agent. Talk to our agent. Somehow we can do it for you, you know, if it makes sense, and start now, you know, here on different, you need to still work on this part. But this was nice. They were able to get their agent working, able to get their podcasts. You need to see where, if I'm going to be able to do any of my here, let me just go back to here, the Instagram. I need to see here the posts. It should be more than, you know, 3 posts, of course, that we were talking about. People following, it's good, but we're starting with it. And then making that. So we have a start. Questions? Any comments, Lily? Daniel, any comments on where
Yeah, I just followed Lily's tutorial and added it to my site and it worked. So it seems the difference is adding it in the custom code rather than adding it as an element. So I'm going to change that in the instructions. Very good.
Isn't that fabulous, guys? That one TA helps the other, and that's what I want you to do, right? So kudos, Lily. And we knew her when, right? When all of this was completely new. And you have to just try it and think little things like that, right? That you never know. And then it'd be interesting to see if it'll work for you then, Daniel. So go back. Daniel is going to edit those instructions. If it hasn't worked for you, if you had those problems of getting to be with voice, and then make sure you can work with it. And then it'd be great, Lily, for you also to have a tutorial, you know, of how you go about doing it. Because what do we want to do? We want to save our work. What's so great about AI is it can capture the knowledge of the professionals. Because once she leaves, right? Once she leaves even a job, right, Lily? Your expertise leaves too. You want to be able, that organization in it, or even if you had your own company, Lily, right? If you have people that have done work for you, you want to be able to what? Gather that work and save that work. And how can you do it? Via those tutorials, right? That you can capture it. And then you can put that data into AI as part of its learning model. That's what we need to do all the time with our agents, with all our prompts, is basically fine-tuning it to our situation. Those generic LLMs are fine because no matter whatever you put, part of it's going to be a generic LLM. So even if you didn't put it, you could still ask that Serenity, give me some exercises for breathing, you know, and they could give you exercises for breathing because it's part of that LLM. Perfect. I have pride to see how you guys have grown. And that's for me what I want for each group, rather than saying I don't want to do it, and rather kind of like friction with one person in the group doing it and the other 3 that you're having to pull teeth. It's, hey, I want everybody to be able to know how to do it. So you can say, you can take it with you. Because now even people are questioning, have you seen that? People are questioning even college in the university. Because what is it people want to know is, what can you do for me? Those grades, all the other things are nice. It's like icing on the cake, but can you reason? Can you define the problem? Can you find a solution? So every time when we were even talking about that, AI slop, is I want each group, after you finish even all the basics, then go back to it and say, when somebody first looks at this, do they have an idea of what the problem is and how we're finding solutions to help you with that? And that's what the AI, the first time around, doesn't give you. So you feed it in again. That's part of what is using generative AI, is how much information you give it, and you have to almost do iterations of it to get it more fine-tuned. And those people, that's why they're saying those people that can work with AI, those are the type of skills that they need, is that I can keep on, I don't quit it, I don't just do the minimum, but I can keep on going in depth and analyze what's happening. And that's what I want you to do with your project. Anything else? So Marco, anything else? You got the idea? I'm more than happy to stay with you. If anyone has additional questions, I'm happy to see you in person on Monday. Then what I want to be able to do on Wednesday is work with all your groups that you can say, hey, this is where we're getting stuck. Give me feedback on what do I need to make this project the best it can. And as I said before, that this project is going to count more than even the tests. So plus you take with you. So just don't think, hey, we just counted off, this will be okay because I got an A on the exam. And you're concerned about your grade, it isn't enough. And those that are also not on that A list, this is a part in which you can succeed plus it. And just having your names, of course, is not enough. Some of you just have your pictures. You want to talk about, what you are in the company, what is your role, and trying all these out. And then you have videos. Each person is required to at least do, right? You put that in, Daniel, right? Has have videos there of describing what services they're going to do, or describing maybe, even some of this that will give you a version of how to do a virtual agent, a voice agent. And these are the positives. So that will be an open-ended question, right, Marco? Is how are these voice agents working? You have those articles there, and then you can show examples based on you've had experience doing something like VAPI, right? How it can help, how it works, rather than just theory from the book. And I'd love for you guys to succeed and basically take this further. That's the beauty. It's just like the beginning of it. Okay. So you want to do roll?
Yes, I can.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, the assignment is updated, so feel free to check that out.
Yeah, you may
The
want to put
only
a note
difference is
there.
the VAPI. I might put an announcement, but the only difference is the VAPI. It will literally take 30 seconds to
Yeah, and
fix
did you
it.
put also check voice rather than chat?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, great. Just checking. Perfect. Okay, so we got it. Put it in the chat. Did you put it 3 times, Daniel? Or
Pretty
now,
much, yeah.
or just now one, huh?
Always a bunch.
Always a bunch. Okay, let me stop recording.